our next speaker is going to actually talk about experiences in implementing participatory budgeting programs in high schools, and in this case, in a high school in Long Island City, Queens, New York. So I would like to say again, thank you so much. And Elizabeth, I'm very happy that you're with us. And of course, we're definitely going to enjoy your presentation. So when you're ready, Elizabeth, we're really looking forward to what you've got to share.
All right. Thank you, Luke. Thank you guys for having me. I've brought along a student here, Sharmi. So she's also from Academy of American Studies. I taught her twice this year. So one for a College Now course and one for student government leadership. So I'm just going to talk about how it was implemented from my perspective as a staff member at Academy. And then Sharmi is going to talk about her experience as a student participating in participatory budgeting for the first time online. So I created a little PowerPoint because I'm a teacher. So let me just get that up for you guys really quickly. All right. Can you guys see my screen? I'm going to do this all the time. All right, guys. So as Luke mentioned, I teach at Academy of American Studies. It's in Long Island City. And right now we're currently actually in 2 different buildings. And so this is important to know just because this really tied into participatory budgeting for us this year. So currently we call it the North and the South building, but in reality, what you see at the very top left, that's Academy, that's our actual building. And so you can see it's a pretty small building, it's pretty run down. It was actually an old sewing factory. And so that's on one side of the street. And on the other side of the street, you can look over and you can see Newcomers High School. So that's on the bottom right-hand side. And because we overgrew the South building, we're now into Newcomers, which we consider the North building on the 3rd and 4th floor. So that's our current school situation. We're actually moving into a new building though, February 2022. And so the students worked on, for this PB cycle, they worked on what would they like to see in the new building, since it's going to be the first time we're all in one place, and they want to make it the best building that they possibly can. So just some background, we are a Gilder Lehrman flagship high school, so this also ties into why we do PB. The reasoning why is we are the first high school in the country that focuses primarily on history. And so what this means is our students, they get history from 9th to 12th grade. Meanwhile, in other high schools, they'll have 9th grade global, 10th grade global, and 11th grade US. We make sure that we have 9th US, 10th US, 11th US, 9th and 10th global. We do 12th grade law, 12th grade government. And so because of this, we are the first, not the only now, but the first American history high school. And so we really pride ourselves in our civic engagement and getting students involved. And so some of our Academy priorities that we have are really 3 things. There's many more, but if I had to narrow it down, it would be these 3 things. 1 is college and life readiness. 2, history for all 4 years, as I mentioned before, and 3, civic engagement. So we've done this through PB and through senior thesis. And so they really tie in as well. So in 12th grade, we have this class called senior thesis, where students choose a topic, whatever topic they want, and they get involved within their community. So for instance, this could be if they're finding that the trash on their street isn't being picked up, they then get involved and call the local politicians to figure out, well, why is this happening? What's going on? And what can we do as students to actually solve this? So they're getting involved in that problem solving portion of the problem. And then also through PB, we do PB in 2 different ways. So we do PB within the school, and this is the first year that we did this with FirstRoot. And so we are so thankful for FirstRoot and Luke and Clint. I know Clint had many Monday mornings with me and the hecticness of it all. And then we also do it through BSAC. So PB is through the school, and BSAC is through the community. And so we try to get our kids involved in many different ways. That way they understand that this is the budget that is allotted. What problems do you see that have arisen, and what do you want to do to solve them? And so in our previous PB cycles, before we were introduced to FirstRoot, we did PB in person. And so we did PB through Civics for All. And in 2018, 2019, that school year, the students ended up voting on gym equipment. And then 2019, 2020, they voted on sanitation for school bathrooms. And so you can see here what it looked like when we were in person, which is completely different that I'm going to get more into about FirstRoot, where it was all online. So here you can see that the kids have created a proposal. So one of them that didn't end up winning was having more lighting. And so you can see that they've created their proposal, they've done their research, and now they're presenting it so that way they can try to encourage more people to actually vote for their proposal. In the end, not successful, but it's still a really great way that kids were able to get involved in order to really support whatever they wanted to see within the school building. So now this is our new school building. It's not all the way up yet, but this is going to be actually behind that building I showed you before. The newcomers high school, our north building, is actually right behind that building. So we're extremely close to where we were previously, but this is the building that the students are going to actually work in starting February 2022. So 6 more months in those 2 buildings separated. So this PB cycle, we focused on, well, what do we want to see in this new building? And in the end, and I'm going to get to the process, but in the end, these are the 4 different ideas that the kids came up with and voted on. And so something that I think is really remarkable is, as you saw previously, we had 1 proposal that was voted on per PB cycle, but something that differentiated FirstRoot from the other PB cycles that we did was we were able to get our top 4 proposals as long as they were underneath that budget. So in the past, whatever was voted on, if it was under the budget allotment, we just lost the rest of the money. Here with FirstRoot, they gave us as many proposals that could fit under the budget that they gave us. So that was really remarkable. So we were able to get 4 different, actually more items, but 4 different categories of items. So we have science lab equipment, which is essential because as of right now, we don't really have a science lab at Academy. Even though we do have science programs, the items that we have aren't that great for our science department. So we were able to have more science lab equipment. We have more hygiene products, which is really important, especially because according to our data for our school, we have over 60% of our students that are below the poverty level. And so having hygiene products where it might not be affordable is essential in the girls' women's bathroom. So we have more hygiene products. There's also baskets for the products, so it makes it nicer. We have SAT test prep, which is also essential because we do have an SAT class that is free, but it's only available to the first 50 students. And we have over 1,000 kids in our school. So having it only available to 50 kids is not enough. And we recognize that need. And so having the SAT test prep does help if the kids are not able to actually get in those classes as well. And then I think the coolest one out of them all, which is why I saved it for last, is the 3D printer. So I think that's awesome. We do have a computer science class. We do have a robotics class. And so I think that this would be a really great addition to that program to see if we can expand it even further. And I know that the kids are really excited for this. I know that this was their most valuable, I think, choice that they determined. So I'm really excited for this and how we can implement it next year within that new school building as well. And so I just wanted to, as I went over the results, I just wanted to talk about the process really quickly because it was a very different process making it remote in comparison to how we implemented this in person. And so I think that this is a really remarkable experience, especially because the reason why we couldn't do it in person this year is because of the pandemic. So a lot of us are working from home. You guys can see my kitchen right here. I'm not in the school building. Sharmi's at home right there as well. So even though schools are open, kids have that option to choose, are they going to be in the school building or are they not? And as a result, many kids chose that they were not in the school building. And so many of us are home even though schools are open. So one of the things that was remarkable with FirstRoot is, well, one, they have an app. So that's really cool. We've never had an app before. And so on this app, students were able to create many different proposals. I required them to create at least one. We did this within student government leadership, but it was open to the entire school. So anyone could sign up, but if you were in my student government leadership class, you had to do it. Thank you, Sharmi. And so every student had to create at least one proposal of what they wanted to see within that new school building. The kids then voted on those proposals to see which of those proposals that they liked the most. We then categorized them so that way we could see what are there any similar proposals that maybe people could join together, create little committees, just like how we see here, which is in person. They had their own different proposals. And then in the end, they realized, well, we have some similarities, so we can join together to make it an even better proposal. except this is online. Then we had the refinement phase, where kids were writing one comment, one question about proposals that they saw. And then, for instance, if I had a proposal and I saw all these questions and comments, I then took those questions and comments to edit my proposal to make it a more effective proposal. And then in the end, they voted again on which proposals that they liked the most. And then that's how we got to these 4 different results. So this is what students want to see in the new building. And so this is entirely their idea. This is them working together. This is them making their proposals even better based off feedback that they received. And then this is them voting. So they're having a voice. There aren't teachers involved in this. It was solely students making the decision that these are the 4 items that they wanted to see within the new building. And so that's really what I have for you guys. That's the teacher perspective. I thought it was very interesting, especially because I've only done this in person before. So taking it completely in person to making it remote. And not only that, working with Luke and Clint each week to make sure that the proposals were successful, to make sure that this was a successful PB cycle. It was very hands-on from them. They really walked us through it each week. They created data as well, not created, but they gave me the data that I needed as well to grade the kids, to make sure that they were creating their proposals, to make sure that they were involved. And so it was a really hands-on process. And I'm so thankful for Luke and Clint for giving the kids this opportunity to have these items in that new school building. And so that's what I have for you guys. So I wanted to bring in Sharmi, so that way she can talk about PB from her perspective. I created some questions just to guide her along on, I think, what the most important ideas about PB were. But if you guys also have any questions, concerns, please feel free to just jump on in. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen with you guys. So Sharmi, one of my questions that I had for you is, besides being a student government member and being forced to do PB, why did you participate in PB?
Okay, I just want to start off by saying hi, everyone. I don't think I said hi before, but I think that beside being a student government member, I participated in participatory budgeting to see like the impact that either like checking a paper, like checking an idea on a paper, or like in this case, choosing a proposal online had on the school. Because I remember in previous years I did participate in participatory budgeting, and I remember one of the years from 2018 to 2019, we got new gym equipment, and I really saw the impact that had on at least my gym period, at least, because I feel like you could really see the impact because of the noise level change in the gym. Because before that, people used to be like, it was really quiet in my gym period, especially because it was small too. But like after getting new gym equipment, I noticed that a lot of people were playing more basketball, volleyball, and like other stuff. So I really saw the change that participatory budgeting had on the school.
Thank you so much, Sharmi. So could you talk more about the proposal that you in particular created? And even if you didn't win, what was that impact that you received from actually creating a proposal?
Okay, so one of the proposals I made was supplying art students to, supplying art supplies to students. I'm sorry. It's really early in the morning, but I made this proposal because I also, like, as Miss Dudley mentioned in her slideshow, that a lot of the students are below the poverty line. So I also noticed that, and a lot of the students do take studio art, so it might be like difficult for them to like buy supplies. So I really thought that, so which is why I made the proposal, and it did get likes, but it did not win. But I feel like it was still like a learning experience, because I feel like the other proposals do really help as well. And yeah.
I'm just going to jump in. I think one of the coolest parts about the students creating their own proposals is that they become very passionate about those proposals. And so they try to convince other students that even if, for instance, everyone's creating a proposal, but they're still trying to convince others that my proposal is going to be better for this building rather than your proposal. And so it gets a little competitive, because it is their creation and they do want to see it through. So it's really interesting seeing that happen as well.
So Sharmi, do you think that process, one of the questions I have is, how do you feel about the assignment, and this is Luke, of that Elizabeth gave you about actually looking at other people's proposals or the assignment that you actually have to create an idea? How did that affect how you felt about the process?
To be honest, like in the previous years, when we used to do participatory budgeting, student government would come into our classes and like they would propose ideas. And like previous years, I was not part of student government, so like I also have that perspective. So we would just choose on like a piece of paper like what we would want like the money to go to. But like this year we were able to like create our own ideas, which I thought was like very helpful too. And plus FirstRoot did really guide us through the phases, which I really thought was helpful too, like especially the phase where we were able to like edit our proposals to make it more detailed, because I know that I needed to make mine more detailed. But yeah.
I just also want to add on to what Sharmi is saying. So I'm really happy that Sharmi is here because she's correct, right? She wasn't in student government in the past. She was now, even though this has always been open to the entire school, it's a completely different perspective. So even though any student can participate in the PB cycle, whether or not they actually choose to is something different. And so that's something that we need to work on as a school, is getting more people outside of student government actually creating proposals. We do have everyone vote on them, but it would be nice to have more people involved to see from an outside perspective of student government what they also would like to see within the school building. So it's really interesting to have Sharmi here to talk about both of those different perspectives. Sharmi, could you talk about what you just started doing about the refinement phase when you were editing your proposals? Could you talk about some observations that you made, whether it was on your own proposal or other proposals that you were commenting on? And did this phase actually help improve your proposal?
During this phase, what I noticed was that there was a lot of repeating proposals, especially about the SAT, and there was also like repeating proposals about like AP exam books, which I did notice. But like specifically with my proposal, I feel like it did make it better with like all the comments and the questions that I got, because it allowed me to make it more detailed. I remember that I had a proposal idea about having a class that like taught about like taxes or like finances, because I thought that was like really important for like students to learn at like a young age. And I remember like one of the students like asking me a question like, oh, is this like ideal for students, or like do you think like students will like actually participate in here like in the class? And like that really got me thinking about like, I mean, what that question really got me thinking about like that proposal and like my other proposals too. Like, would this like actually help the students in like the way that I think would help the students? And yeah, but at the end, I did realize like from the questions and like the comments that my class, like my proposal about like having a class on taxes, like would not be ideal, because you would need a teacher to like teach it, and over time like their salary would exceed $2,000, so I noticed it was not ideal.
Over time, how much do you think we get paid, Sharmi?
Yeah.
So what lessons have you actually learned from PB?
I think that one of the lessons I learned is that even like doing something as small as like checking off a box, or like even just choosing a proposal, is a way for you to be like involved in like your school community. And like before I did not think of it as that, but like now like joining student government, I like saw like a different perspective. Like I didn't notice that like actually participating in participatory budgeting was a way of being involved. But like this year I learned it was, because even like the smallest thing goes a long way.
And then can you talk about the differences that you notice? I know you started talking about that, but the differences between in-person participatory budgeting versus virtual, and what you would like to see in the next year. Would you like to see a combination of the two, or what would you like to see?
I think that a combination would be nice. I thought that participatory budgeting this year was a little more effective because of like the different phases that we had. Like students were able to like propose their own ideas, and like we were able to like narrow it down. But I feel like I think when it was like in person, we only had like certain ideas that we were limited to. Which is why I really thought that the virtual like participatory budgeting really helped out. Yeah.
And then last question, and then we'll turn it on over to everyone else. But what impact do you think that those items, those 4 categories that we were able to actually implement, what impact do you think they will have within the new school building and on the school community?
Okay, so I know that 4 of the proposals won, and I know that one of them was the SAT products. And speaking as a rising senior myself, like during the summer, I'm still like gonna get a chance to like take the SAT during the fall. So I feel like getting SAT books like really does help. Like I can just like go to the library during my lunch period if that's still like allowed because of COVID restrictions. I can just go during my lunch period and like just study. And for like science equipment, as like Miss Dudley like did talk about before, we do have like a lab on like I think our 3rd floor or something like that. And I remember that we would always have to like I guess like reserve the lab in a sense, because like all the equipment was there, and like whenever we needed it we would have to like reserve it because a class would also be there. So I feel like getting new like science equipment like would really help, because teachers would have like their designated supplies. And speaking on women's hygiene products, like since I'm a female and like I'm gonna need it eventually, but like I usually do like bring my own. But like I guess like supposedly like I guess like one day, what if I forget? Like I feel like having like the reassurance that like there are products in the school, and like I wouldn't need to worry about like going back home or like going to like I guess like CBS or Dawn Reed before like going to school. Like I wouldn't need to worry about that, and like just like having the reassurance like that of the products that are still there, like just like makes it better. And like which is why I think a lot of the females really like the proposal. And for the 3D printer, I'm not really sure how we would use this, but I know like a lot of teachers would like love to have this and like show us like things in person. And I guess like just like participatory budgeting did, the 3D printers would like bring ideas to life in a sense. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Sharmi, for talking about the student perspective of participatory budgeting. If you guys have any questions, I know we're a little short on our time, but we'd love to hear about any questions that you guys might have for us.
I'm trying to be good about not asking a whole ton of questions. But I want to see if any of the other members of the team have questions. But I do have another one for Sharmi. Sharmi, if you could have a reference to this in the future, like as part of a college or a job application, what would you write about on that job application or school application? Like what would you want to say about participatory budgeting, and what would you want from our system to help support you in saying what you want to say?
Sorry, just to like reiterate, are you like saying that how I would use like my experience in participatory budgeting and like talk about that in like job applications or like
Yeah. Like
oh, okay.
what would you say, you know, you're applying for a job and would you even put on your resume like, hey, I did participatory budgeting, or I did this thing? Would you say it? Would you, or not? Or what would you know what I mean? Would you even mention it?
I feel like I would mention it, but I feel like I did make my resume already, but like my resume is like sort of like I don't know how to explain it, but like my interests are in like medical, so like everything's focused on like that aspect. So like I would need to like find a way to like put participatory budgeting in my resume, but I feel like I would include it in like skills because it did like really like help, not like skills, but like I feel like I don't know how I would implement it, but it did like teach a few skills on like how to like manage money and like sort of ideas. I guess like you can even say that it was like a problem solving thing in a sense, because you were like taking a certain amount that we were given, and you were sort of like distributing that money to see like which idea would best like improve the school. So I feel like I would include it in that sense, but not really under like experience or like that, but I feel like under skill.
Okay. Okay.
Also, I shouted out Luke and Clint before, but I also wanted to mention Ari. I just noticed that you were on here, Ari. I want to thank you for getting all of those items and getting them to Academy so we can actually implement them. So thank you so much, Ari.
You're welcome. Happy to help.
Thank you.
So back to you, Elizabeth, how do you think we should be promoting these results so that we can create bigger budgets for the students, right? Because I think the belief system of all of us is that we see students doing amazing things when given the opportunity, and other adults can get excited about it, but they have to see those results. But now that we have some results, do you think that there's like, what could we do, or what would you advocate that we could do that would be, hey, let's go ahead and get more money into the hands of the students?
So I'm not too sure about the fundraising portion, just because I'm in the DOE, and so we don't necessarily have methods like that. However, I am in a COSA email chain, and so I am the COSA at Academy, which is why I work with student government and leadership. And so we do have a COSA email chain where the COSAs are constantly bouncing ideas off of each other. And I know I found out about you, Luke, actually from the previous COSA at Academy. So I know that it's a good networking chain where even, for instance, we have graduation coming up tomorrow and the next day, and the COSAs are constantly bouncing ideas about who to use, why they're good, and so forth. So I could definitely mention your name through that chain, but I'm not sure about the fundraising portion.
But I mean, I'm going to push a little, like, why can't the DOE feel comfortable about allocating money to the students? We have literally billions of dollars of ESSER funding available from the CARES Act. And
Right.
Part of the ESSER funding is explicitly designed to improve the environment for the students. So the argument would be, hey, you know, DOE, you've got billions of dollars of funding from ESSER. Why not listen to the students, or allocate a small portion? We're not saying, you know, you have to give every penny to the students. We understand that it may not be tenable, but why not allocate, you know, some of that money? I know you and I are aligned on the same thing. Don't get me wrong, but I'm still wondering, like, how do we crack the code? How do we convince people who haven't been through this process that it works, and it works great, that,
Right.
you know, student leaders like Sharmi can be, in a sense, trusted to do great stuff, because they do great stuff. I'm any, like, is there a forum, a hearing, or an avenue for this?
I'm not even sure, just because the DOE does have their own participatory budgeting through Civics for All, but the sole reason why we didn't use them this year and why we were looking for other avenues, which led us to you, is because the DOE cut their funding for Civics for All. So Civics for All didn't do participatory budgeting this year, and so we were looking for other avenues because we do think it's important that kids have participatory budgeting each year, and they haven't even come out to say if they're doing it next year. So even though, yes, they have received all this money, where that money
is going
is another question.
Yeah. Right. If you would have a magic wand, and I know the students who participated were really, complimentary about our software, but they also gave us some really great feedback that is on our backlog, and the team is planning and working on some of these items, like commenting on proposals. If you, now that it's been even a few more weeks delayed since we asked, upon reflection, if there was one or two additional things you'd like to see, what would you like to see?
One that I would like to see is that anyone would be able to vote on the app. So I know that you had to register, you had to sign in order to vote. But I would like to see anyone be able to, because I do want to implement this app within the school. However, as Sharmi mentioned, student government goes into classrooms. So even though anyone can create a proposal, they really don't end up creating proposals. It really falls on student government. And so then that would be, for instance, the people signing up for the app. But then afterwards, once they create the proposals, they go into classrooms, they go into the lunchrooms, and they get as many people as possible to vote. And the app would make it a lot easier because the students are going through the paper ballots and they check names off. So they have the roster of the entire school. And so that way only one person has one vote. So if they see it checked and they see another ballot for that person, it doesn't get counted. But we try to get the entire school to actually vote on those proposals to come up with what the school needs. And so that would be a great addition to the app.
So like maybe vote without logging in, like give your name. So it's not fully anonymous. We're going to do the deduping and make sure that that's a great suggestion.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I think that
What do
we
you
could
think?
we could find a social process that mimics the physical process, right? Where you could imagine one student, having a device that says, "Oh, you're so-and-so, great. You haven't voted, great. I'm going to check you in. Here you go." So I think that there's a way we can do that. Clint, we could look at the game models where when the iPads first came out and no one could afford more than one, there was a whole model of pass and play in gaming. Like you would play Scrabble with your friend and you would say, "Oh, it's your turn," and you'd hand the device to your friend. So there's pass and play interaction models that we might be able to leverage. Sharmi, if you had an idea about getting the students involved, is there any apps that you've used that make it easy for people to work together that you like? I know that one of the apps that I use with my own family every now and then is Among Us. I lose the game almost every time because I'm always laughing about getting killed when I play Among Us. But is there any apps that you've used that you think have good ideas that we could leverage?
If I'm being honest, I actually do not know. But if you guys are like, I'm sorry, I actually do not know the answer to that question, but like I guess like you can use like Discord to like promote your app in a sense. I know that if you just sent out the link, or like you can promote it using social media. If you like promote that link on social media, a lot of people can like just join automatically if like they have an account. So I feel like in a sense you guys can use that, and they do have features. So like I guess like you can use the poll feature, and they can just like vote like that. But I feel like your app is still like such a good idea, but like if you do want to promote it in that sense, you can use like social media or like Discord.
And other than Discord, are there any other social media platforms that you would be more advocating?
Slack is also another good platform, but I feel like Discord has like more like features. It's like harder to use, but like if you don't want to use Discord, I feel like you should use Slack because it's like the same thing with less features though.
Okay. That's exciting. I haven't spun up a Discord server, but so I have 4 teenagers, right? 2 in college, 2 in high school, so similar ages to you. And I know one of my sons is on Twitch quite a lot, broadcasting. So I'm kind of observing, what is being used. And by the way, Dev team, you should say hi, because Elizabeth and Sharmi haven't met who you are, and they might want to know who some of the people behind the scenes who are building stuff. So say hi and let them know who you are and what you do. So go ahead, round robin team. Julie, I'm going to start with you because you're first on my screen.
Hi, so I'm Julie and I'm an intern here at FirstRoot, and I work on I'm in the backend, like database and mostly API, and I did the documentation and I help with the documentation, and now it's the testing part. And it's like, so the testing is so that we don't have any bugs on the app, so it works smoothly and you don't like we want to make sure you don't end up with a red screen or with, and you're stuck somewhere, so to prevent that.
And where do you live?
Oh, I live in Switzerland, in Zurich. Yeah, so it's like 2 p.m., almost 3 p.m. now for me, so I'm like
all right, who's next? I think Fede's smiling and waving.
Yeah, I can go next. Nice to meet you, Elizabeth, Charmy. It's great to hear from you and your experience using the app. We're still a growing company, and we want to include a lot more features and make the overall experience a lot better for everyone, for both teachers, school administrators, students, everyone who's involved. I'm based in Mexico. I'm a part of the design team. I work closely with Luke and Clint. And I'm just really excited to see how real people are using the app and good things happening for the good of a community, not just individuals. So hopefully we can connect on other sessions to get some additional ideas. Discord and Slack are pretty good references. And I think we are learning new things every day. And with Luke as our leader, we're agile, constantly pushing ourselves into breaking new barriers and such. But yep, nice to meet you. So yeah, who's next?
Hello, I'm Eduardo. Nice to meet you. I'm in the backend team, in charge of adding new features to the server, maintenance, the database, modeling, and that stuff. Yeah, I'm based on Mérida, Yucatán, Mexico. Yeah, currently living here. And nice to meet you, and I'm glad to hear the different perspectives about the participatory budgeting from the student and the teacher. Yeah, and thank you for the feedback. Your feedback has been very useful for us. Yeah. Who's next?
I think me.
Jessica.
Nice to meet you, Elizabeth and Charmy. It's good to see you all the feedback, how you use the app. I'm Jessica, I'm the front-end developer. I'm responsible with Fede, how it looks and how feel the app, the front end, with other teammate that is not here. I'm in Merida, like Eduardo, in Merida, Mexico. And I'm glad that the app helped you to share that kind of thing with the participatory budgeting. I think is, I don't know, when I hear to you to say that this helped you to with there's an app to do that and help you to join or be part the students to this experiment. I like it. Like that they can use it in a good way, and they feel like part of this kind of experiment, this participatory budgeting, that they put the proposal, they use it, they feel that their all phases are useful. That's it. I think is if you have more feedback, it's great to hear about that.
And Jeremy, I'm Clint. I know Elizabeth mentioned my name. Elizabeth and I would talk every Monday morning. Well, maybe it was morning for her, night for me. I live in Bangalore, India. And so my days would start, or my Mondays, because I work US hours a lot of the time, but my days would start with Elizabeth, and we were always tracking, like, okay, well, what's going on with the app? Is there a bug? And I know that sometimes there were bugs, and the team would work so hard to get them, fixed. And honestly, without you guys going through the app and using it at this early stage, we really wouldn't have an app, right? Because it's your constant feedback. It's students actually pressing buttons, actually using the system that drives us to push out new releases and create new features. And it keeps us honest as we do it, right? Because we're not off in the world thinking up things that may or may not be useful to the actual users. We are, really delivering for you guys and working to make sure that your experience is as best as we can make it, even though we know we gave you an app that is new and I would say not complete, right? I mean, so thank you. We thank you guys so much for going through and being patient with the app and patient with us and being, part of our pilot program. It's invaluable that, your colleagues and yourself were willing to do that with us. So thank you.
I guess that's me now. Hi, Elizabeth. Nice to finally see you. And Charmy, I am Arigal. I am the office manager, office admin, whatever Luke needs me. I've been working with Luke since 8-9 years ago. And then I have been emailing back and forth with Elizabeth just to make sure that you got all the items that you sent me and everything. So I actually take care of the end result of the PB voting and get all the stuff that the student needs or what Elizabeth needs. And well, Elizabeth, thank you for being patient with me. And yeah, I mean, it's really nice to know that the apps worked well. And then thank you for your feedback and all. So thank you. And really nice to finally see you, Charmy and Elizabeth.
Yeah, it's great to meet you all. Thank you guys so much for everything you did. It's really going to make a large impact within our school building. We're excited for it. The kids are excited for it. And I think the best part is that it comes all from the kids. So none of the proposals were my idea whatsoever. It's all from the kids. They've created this, they've refined this, they've voted on this. And so it's because of you guys that their ideas are coming to life. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you guys for giving us a chance to do this.